haven't done this in I have not done this in a little bit. It's been a minute. Is this like obnoxious to have this so close? Hello. Hi. Welcome back to another episode of Digging Deep. It is so lovely to have you. Oh my gosh. I've missed you. 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 Have you missed me? I've missed you. By the way, I've missed you. I have not made an episode in a minute. I've been taking a little bit of a break, I'm not gonna lie. If you've noticed, like, my posting schedule has not been consistent at all, probably the last 3 months. A little backstory. So I took over being the lead teacher at the preschool in October, and that's when these episodes fell off in consistency. Life has just been lifing. It's been a lot, and I've just been trying to be present for it, but also, like, I feel like a chicken running around with my head cut off most days, so I am barely present, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm trying my best, and with that, I really, 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 really hate the idea of just putting out content just to put it out. I always told myself, and continue to tell myself, that if I'm gonna make something, it's gonna be of value and of meaning, and I just haven't felt the most inspired, which is why I've taken a little bit of a step back from this, but this is what I love, and I want to keep adding to it, so I'm hoping for 2025, it's smoother sailing, calmer water, but yeah, I'm back, I've missed you, and I have lots to say, and I'm just very, very proud. I'm already getting emotional, no surprise. I'm very proud of how far I've come this year in all aspects, and we'll get into that today, but I just really wanted to take this episode, as I did last year, to just reflect on everything that 2024 has taught me, because it's been a lot, more than last year, which I didn't even think was possible. And I just think it's really important for us to reflect on ways in which we've grown, changed, become someone new, in every year. And I'm very grateful to have this platform, and I hope that these lessons can maybe teach you guys something. Looking back, I've made a lot of episodes this year, like before my whole go ghost moment. I've been making a lot of episodes, and I have become someone that, like, I'm very proud of, and I feel like my confidence has grown tremendously this year, and I've also dealt with some of the lowest lows this year, and that's evident in all of my episodes and in the growth that I talk about today, and I'm just very grateful to be alive, truly. I'm just grateful for it all. Like, even the moments that were painful, even the moments that I wish didn't happen, even the most painful things, I'm so grateful. So, I hate long intros, but that needed to be said. Yeah, so without further ado, it's time to dig deep. I made this episode last year, so if you want to listen to that to see kind of what I learned differently, or honestly, some episodes I repeat myself, just because I'm a firm believer that some lessons need to be learned multiple times before you master it, and even if you feel like you mastered it, you're going to get in a situation that tests that. So, I hope this looks okay too. I'm filming somewhere different because I'm filming later than I usually do, but I hope this works. And there's someone walking by right now. Hey, brother. I hope they're not closing anytime soon. But I have a lot to say. Sorry, I got awkward because he walked by. I have a lot to say. And I was going to stop myself at 24 lessons, but I kept going. So we have 26 things that I learned in 2024. And I got cut off. But I was saying that I made this episode last year, so if you want to go listen to that, go right ahead. And also, another thing I want to mention, sorry, my brain just got so off track. I picked a word of the year. So last year was the first year I ever did that, and my word for 2023 was trust. And a little undertone was trust the timing of my life, or to explain that more, trust the timing of my life. I literally got, you can't see it because I'm wearing a long sleeve, but I got a clock tattooed on me to just remind myself that, like, you're always on time for your life, and to trust in the unfolding of things. Things always happen for you, not to you. Life is on your side. It may not feel like it, but just trust in it. So that was my lesson and my theme for last year. Please stop. I'm just kidding. I'm in his work area. But my word for this year, drum roll please, bloom. Bloom, baby, bloom. After the storm is when the flower blooms. I wanted to be like the trees, to be like a beautiful flower and blossom. One time someone told me that I remind them of a tree, and like the way that I like grow and pour into people is like a tree and like nature, and I've never forgotten that, and I really wanted to lean into that and bloom this year in any way that I could, and just focus on being more confident, stepping into myself. I wrote it down in my journal, but I have a different one with me, but I just wanted to bloom in whatever way that was. And it's really interesting to see the ways that I did bloom and ways that I didn't even imagine. So for the upcoming year, I'm going to pick another word, but today we're going to focus on all the ways that we bloomed this year, ways that we grew into someone that we maybe didn't even think we could, but someone that we're proud of nonetheless. So I did these kind of in random order, so if they're not all like flowing perfectly fine, that's why. And yeah, I just kind of jotted down things that I learned from this year just to debrief really quick, because I've lived like 37 lives in this year alone, to be so completely honest. Oh, he's leaving. Sorry. I've lived so many lives. Like, if I could go back and shake January Janetta's hand, I would be like, listen here, soldier, you are going to be in for a treat. All you can do is buckle up and brace yourself, and you're going to be so proud of who you are at the end of it, but it's not easy. It took a lot of tears. It's like that thing. It's like, why does everything I love have claw marks on it? It's like that. Like, why do I fight tooth and nail to, like, hold on to things, or, like, everything that I have, like, I fight for it type of thing? But it's also, like, it's so beautiful, and I appreciate everything that got me here. Just to unpack my year. So, starting in January, we started off, well, I guess in December I did this, but the effects were felt in January. I quit my dance team, the sport that has sustained me for the majority of my life, that has been my identity, my personality trait, my thing. I quit that, and I didn't have anywhere else to go for it. So I had that. I chose to walk away from a friend group, and that left me with significantly less friends, which we'll get into more later, which had so many effects on me that I didn't even think, but I am so grateful for it. Okay, so that's in January, and I also transferred locations, moved gyms, and I became a manager. A manager is something that I never thought I would do. I always told myself that I did not want to manage people. And two, I left a location with kids that I was so close to, and that truly inspired me for what I want to do with the rest of my life. They're the reason why I changed my major from nursing to teaching, and I never thought I would change my major. That's like the one thing. Well, I did say a few things. I said that I would never change my major, never go to this one state school, and I would never go to community college. And guess what I'm doing? All three of those things. But I'm so grateful for those children because they mean the world to me. But in January, I left them. And so that shattered my heart into a billion pieces. And so January was a lot. And just trying to fight burnout, this new routine, this new location, trying to be a manager and be someone worthy of people's respect, while also like being most times younger than a lot of people and trying to balance that dynamic, trying to be a positive leader and build a close bond with not only the employees but the children, and just figure out like my footing in that new area. And I can't remember if it was in January. It's coming back to me. In January, I also got a crush. Because, of course, I'm not like that anymore. But back then, me talking like this is so far away. Back then, anytime any guy gave me positive attention, I would romanticize what our life would be together. I would romanticize what you would say to me at the aisle. I would think about how you would be the father to our future children. Yeah, so I did that. Sue me. My bad. Sorry I like love. Like, geez. What's a girl to do out here? So that was that. In February, I was still at that place. Me and Presley and Slim, we went to California for Disneyland. That was very fun. I really thought I was going to have a Valentine in February. That didn't happen at all. I'm trying to think of what else. In February, I also kept asking this guy to hang out with me, and he wouldn't. And I was like, maybe he's just shy. He's just scared of me. He's never had a girlfriend before, yada, yada, yada. No, baby, you find out later that he just didn't like you, which is not a bad thing, but I was very much in the mindset of, like, if I try harder, then he'll like me. If I prove myself, then he'll like me. Which is so sad thinking about, because I know now that love is something that you shouldn't have to step outside of yourself for. If someone really likes you and recognizes you and wants to get to know you more and pour into you, you're not going to have to do anything but be yourself. But I didn't know that then, so I did keep trying. And March, I don't really know what else happened. I did go on a date with him, and then I found out that he just didn't like me, which is fine. That's fine. But the way he went about it was really weird, and that just rubbed me entirely the wrong way. So that was that. Mind you, during this time, I was dealing with significant loneliness, like significant. There are so many videos, not so many, but there are a lot of videos, writing episodes of me just being in the depths of loneliness. But through that, I started to force myself to go out more and do things that I wanted to do, even if that meant doing it alone. I would go to concerts by myself. I would go to flea markets. I would go to skating events, buy myself flowers, go to the movies. Like, I truly developed the mindset that if I like something, I'm going to do it, whether or not that means doing it alone or with people. I'm not going to postpone my life, postpone my joy, just because that means I have to do it by myself. Things can be magical and enjoyed on your own. Of course, having someone there to share that love and kind of enhance it is going to be magical as well, but there's still magic with just being you. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself on the lessons. I'm trying to just recap my year right now. So that happened. What else happened in my life? Okay, so April also went on the date with that boy, right? I also was applying to different hospitals because I still have my CNA license at this time, but didn't expire till July. And I was like, my plan is to work at a hospital, get me through college, and then I can be a teacher. Interesting choice, Janetta, but okay. So I got a job working at a children's hospital, like one of the best, and I was so excited for this opportunity. I thought this was going to be the job of my dreams. I've always wanted to be a nurse, work with children, and I got a position working in the NICU, and I thought that was just going to be absolutely magical, and I was so excited. So I left the gym that I'd been at, and I moved to the hospital. Now, this lasted for about a month because there was a really devastating loss that happened, and that really just shook me up more than I thought it would. And also at this time is when we have the epic edible crash out that rewired the chemistry of my brain. This will forever be remembered, unfortunately, because I was genuinely not myself. Like, I laugh about it now. Like, I had to tell Peyton about this because we hadn't seen each other in a while, and we caught up a few days ago, and I was giggling, but I'm like, wait, laughing, but the joke's not funny at all. Because I genuinely was so depressed and so anxious, and I was in like a 2-month-long prolonged panic attack, and I had to quit my job. But I learned so much. Inside Out came out, and that healed a piece of me. I found yoga, which also healed a piece of me. I started to not romanticize my life, but just have a different appreciation for mental health and understand that not everybody gets that, and also that I need to stay away from edibles. I'm really jealous of anybody that doesn't have a life-altering reaction. But from that, so I left my job, and then I went back to EOS, which is something that I swore that I would never do. I need to stop doing that. I'm realizing I need to stop swearing that I'll never do things, because most of the time, I do them. I do them. But I went back to EOS, which I did not want to do. I fought tooth and nail, but I'm like, I need a job. I don't know where I'm going to go. And that's how you know I was not like myself, because I never leave a job without knowing my next move. But I was so out of my body, genuinely. I say that it was not even me in my body for like 2 months. I was just coasting. I was just a passenger. Someone else was in the driver's seat. Don't know who that man is, but they were there, and they were in my body. So I went to EOS, and I think it's so serendipitous that happened, because even though, of course, I didn't want to have my brain be reconstructed by an edible, and I didn't want to go back to my shitty job that I left, I then was able to meet some of the most beautiful people that I love so dearly, and that wouldn't have happened if I never went back. So again, everything happens for a reason. Also, another crazy thing that I keep forgetting that happened this year, I fully signed a lease. Like, Layla and I were going to move out this summer in July, I want to say. No, wait, June maybe? June. Signed a lease, and then we canceled it. Like, I could have been living out of the house by now. Like, that's crazy. So again, everything happens for a reason. Still, she's the love of my life. That just didn't work, and that's okay. It was a hard loss, but we're okay. We're still breathing. We're still so close, and everything's okay. Like, at the time, I'm like, oh my God, this is the end of the world, but it worked out. And another thing that also happened, I'm telling you, I lived so many lives this year. I started working at a preschool. Happened so, like, spur of the moment, beautiful, divine timing, like I was meant to be there type of way. I just texted the connection that I had, which is my old dance teacher, Miss Katie. She's known me since I was like 10. And she was like, yeah, no, like, we're looking for people to come help. And I'm like, how does summer sound? Can I start now? So I interned over the summer. And then another beautifully serendipitous thing, a position opened up for a lead teaching spot. Mind you, it was never my plan to be a teacher, let alone a teacher now. And the position presented itself, and I just simply could not say no. And I've been there ever since, and I have gone through a lot in the short amount of time that I've been there in terms of growth and changing, but I'm learning to let myself change and to embrace the uncomfortable and the chaos. That's the biggest thing. Embrace the chaos because there's beauty in it, and it's okay to like learn and like not be good at something for a little bit. And it's just so much that I've learned from that change, complete change in direction in terms of my career and like my life path. What else? I'm talking so much. I'm sorry. I really need to get into the lessons, but I just wanted to unpack that. I went to my first music festivals this year. Not one, but two of them, which that's freaking awesome. What else have I done? Yeah, I'm like, those are big life events, so let me not downplay those at all. But it's just crazy to think how much can happen in a year. How much can happen in a year. I thought my life was going to take so many different directions this year, and I'm so glad it didn't do any of those because it led me here, and it made me who I am. And truly, I got to know myself so much this year and just develop like such a good relationship with Janetta and understand that I am mine before anybody else is. I am the best friend I will ever have. I am the one person that I get to spend 100% of my entire life with, and that is a blessing, not a curse. Being single for my whole life has really felt like a punishment, or like I've been doing something wrong, and like this is the sentence that I've been given. Like, you have to spend time with yourself. Like, no one gets to enjoy your energy. You don't get to enjoy others' energy in that romantic way. And it's been such a really complex and hard thing for me to unpack because I crave love so deeply. And I thought that I was going to meet the love of my life this year. I think that every year. But even though I didn't meet a man to sweep me off my feet and be my Prince Charming, whatever, I met myself. And I get to be the love of my own life. I get to be the main character, as people say, which I think can be a little chuggy sometimes, but I love it. I love it. And I really did embrace that this year. Like, it's a gift to know me. It's a gift to love me. It's an honor to be loved by me. But I get to do that for myself. Like, I get to give that love to myself first. That love comes from me, so I get to embrace it. And I really did this year. But don't be fooled, that did not come easy. Came with a lot of tears and a lot of me banging my head. I went to therapy this year. Hello? Bruh. How did I forget that? I literally started therapy this year. I went for 3 months, and then my therapist said, girl, you know too much. You can do this on your own. And she let me off into the world, which was such a very validating experience. And so I hope to take what I've learned and help others and be a therapist for you if you can't afford therapy, because it is expensive. And I keep getting calls from them because I don't know if I owe them money. But I went to therapy, and that's something that I've said that I always wanted to do before I have kids. So it's crazy that this year that's what happened. Interesting. Okay, I want to start off. This one is the most important one I'll say today. We're going into the lessons, what I learned in 2024. This one, I said that they're in no specific order, but number one is number one for a reason, because the biggest lesson and thing that I had to move through this year was loneliness. I turned 20 this year. Like I mentioned earlier, I left a big friend group and chose to be alone rather than being around people that didn't serve me at that time. And that is nothing against any of them. I wish them all the best. And I also learned that about myself, that like no matter what happens, I think I will always just root for people and want to see them do well and send them my love. But that has to be at a distance, and that's okay. But the biggest lesson that I learned, and don't mind me if I look down at my thing a lot today because I have my things right here. But the biggest lesson that I learned in 2024 is that loneliness is still time spent with the world. It can feel like the worst thing ever when you go on your phone and you see people posting about their lives and having this grand friend group, always having things to do, always having people to do them with, and wondering why you're by yourself. It's okay to be alone. It is okay if you don't have that grand friend group. It is okay if you have to indulge in the things that you love by yourself. That doesn't make them any less valuable. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, that people don't want to be around you. In your early 20s, you're entering a stage where a lot of people are more focused on their own lives than they are about anybody else's. That's not a bad thing. I think everybody needs to have a selfish era, or else it's going to come back and bite you when you're older, and you're going to take that out on other people. But I think that understanding that your loneliness is such a beautiful, beautiful time in your life. How awesome is it that you have one responsibility right now? You. You just have to focus on you, what you like, what you don't like, learning yourself, learning more about the world, investing in what you care about, and truly embracing this journey that you're on. And then people that are meant to be on that journey with you will inevitably come to you. You'll be a magnet to those things. But the more you run from loneliness, the more you prolong it, and the more you make it your enemy. The biggest thing that I did for myself this year is, instead of running from loneliness, I ran directly through it. I ran directly into it. I learned how to face it head on. And a lot of times that looked like me crying, me finding some sort of outlet to put my emotions because they were so big and grand and I didn't know how to deal with them. And I've never felt loneliness to this degree before. Sure, I've felt times where I didn't really feel like I fit in. That's a very familiar feeling to me. But the way that I felt loneliness this year was genuinely like it was the only thing that I would ever feel ever again. And that I was being punished. Like, it was it's like I'm getting a slap on the wrist, like for doing something that I don't even know that I did wrong. But now my punishment is to be by myself. And there are different kinds of loneliness. And I felt it like physically being by yourself. But I've also felt the feeling of being surrounded by so many people, but feeling so alone and feeling so alone and feeling not seen and not known. And that one cuts so deep. And I'm someone that craves connection so much, and I think that that is a very universal experience. And sometimes there are just going to be periods of life where you have to connect with yourself. You have to pour back into yourself. There's not going to be so many opportunities to go out and meet people. Or maybe the connections that you do have are more surface level. And I'm someone that craves like deep, vulnerable, soul-nourishing connections. And that was not always the case this year. Most of the time, I was just going to work and home. And now work, and school and home. Work, school and home. Like, there's not always going to be someone there for you, but you can be there for yourself. You get to be with you, and that is the most beautiful relationship that you will ever have. And that relationship takes work, but loneliness is still time spent with the world. You are still here living, breathing, experiencing. You get a chance at another day, and that is a gift. Even if that gift is something that can be only enjoyed by you, you still have a gift. So use it, don't waste it, and delete social media if that's what helps you. One of the best things I did for myself this year was delete Snapchat, because I was just going on there whenever I felt lonely, clicking through people's stories, people who I used to know so well, or just people in general that I don't even talk to, and just watching their lives and convincing myself that they get to experience fun and joy and human connection, and I don't, because I'm a bad person that doesn't deserve love. That's just not the case. Everybody deserves love, and sometimes you just have to be the one to give it to yourself, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I want to bring up another quote. Okay, this is one of my favorite poems, and it just plays in the back of my mind all the time. But this is from The Invitation by Mary Oliver. She says, and not for the sake of winning, but for sheer delight and gratitude, believe us, they say. It is a serious thing just to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life." That just goes hand in hand with the idea that you are alive, even if it hurts, even if it's lonely and you feel isolated and disconnected. You are here. You are here breathing, living. You have a divine gift and a divine purpose to be here. So use it. That was a lot for just one lesson, so I fear we're in for a long episode. Okay, sorry, I had to pause for a Vaseline break, but I'm just going to move through these and go however deep or however surface level as I feel. Okay, another lesson that I learned this year is that they don't have to heal, but you can. This is something that my therapist told me, just in relation to different maturity levels in people, whether that's friends, family, relationships in general, in any form. They don't have to heal, but you can. And that can feel so complex and heavy when you're dealing with someone who doesn't change and who isn't growing in the same way that you are. And it can take a really big toll on the relationship. Knowing when to walk away and when to set a boundary and when to advocate for yourself. Yes, it's a good thing to be a bigger person, but also you do not have to silence yourself just to keep the peace. And if keeping the peace comes at the expense of your silence, that's not a relationship worth having. And I've had to learn that the hard way in many different ways, but I truly think that the right people that really value you and who want to respect you and your boundaries will want you to speak up when something bothers you and will want to heal in a way that serves will want to heal in a way that serves both you and them and the connection that you guys have together. Moving on, something that goes really hand in hand with this, You're allowed to make a statement when others consistently disrespect you. I have always been someone that's been more of the silent. Let me not lie. Actually, I've never been silent a day in my life. But it's weird because I've never been silent until I learned that behavior. Like, I remember I became really uncomfortable to confrontation in high school, sophomore year to be exact. It was from my dance team. We're not going to get too deep into that, but that experience really made me want to go mute and fear and run the opposite direction of confrontation. But I've learned that I've allowed a lot of things to slide that just made me really uncomfortable and did not make me feel safe in my own body or experience, that I would just stay silent about because I didn't want to upset people or seem like the bad guy in a situation. But if people consistently make a habit of pushing the boundaries and of making you feel uncomfortable, things that you would never do to them, it is not your responsibility to always be the bigger person. Normalize being the smaller person. I am the smaller person. I'm shorter than everybody I know, so why do I have to be bigger than you? Normalize when they go low, we go lower. In some cases, because I don't think it's terrible. That doesn't make you like them. That just means that you can fight back. You can defend yourself. You can speak up if there's something to be said. You don't always have to bite your tongue, keep the peace, be the bigger person. Shout out Robert for reminding me of that. Normalize being, I don't know. But normalize having a voice. Normalize advocating for yourself. Because it's clear that they won't consider you. It's clear that they won't think about you in that way. So you have the privilege to speak up for yourself and make it known. Normalize being the smaller person. Period. And so what if that makes some think of you differently? You know your true character and you know your intentions, and just because you speak up once out of a number of times that they've done something to you, that doesn't mean that you're the bad. What the fuck am I saying? That doesn't make you like them. That doesn't make you less than or a different person or change your character. That just means that you now have boundaries and a backbone. It's like that Doechii quote. I'm like Carrie Bradshaw with the back brace on. You can stand up for yourself. And it's a reminder to them, don't mess with me because I clocked that and that's weird and I'm going to call you out on it. If you're going to act weird, stand on it. Because one thing about me, I will stand on it. Hold others accountable. That's what I meant to say, okay? Okay. Another lesson, number 3 on our list. This goes very complementary with loneliness. It is okay to need people and to want to be needed by others. I will never forget one of my really big breakthrough sessions in therapy. I was dealing with really, really heavy feelings of loneliness. I said that so weird. Sorry. I was dealing with really, really heavy and overwhelming feelings of loneliness, and I was just reflecting on how the different relationships in my life have changed, moving into my 20s with my sister, my friendships, and at this time, I only had 3 friends that I really, really called on and relied on and could trust. And when you have such a small friend group or circle of people, if let's say one of them is busy, that significantly takes a toll on the amount of people that you can contact. And I am understanding of everybody's life situation. I know that we all just get busy and that's just part of growing up. But I realized that a reason why I've been feeling so sad and lonely is because they don't need me anymore. People that once contacted me all the time or once would ask me for my advice all the time, they now have partners. They now have their person. their number one person that they can go to. And that is such a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy that they all have a safety net in those people. But it also is really sad. And I think that I learned that those two can coexist, those feelings of extreme gratitude for them and extreme, I don't know the fucking word, an extreme sense of being proud of them and happy for them, while also an extreme sense of sadness and just changing of what our life looks like now. It's okay to need people. It's okay to want to be needed by people. It will change as you grow up. That's something that I had to learn the hard way, and they still need me in different ways, just not the ways that they used to. And it's really hard when like that's actively happening in your life to look around and be like, wow, like my life will never look how it used to. My life is changing while I'm living it. Like this is going to affect me in ways that I didn't think, but that's okay because you've never been here before. Like you are experiencing this for the first time. So talk about it, talk it through, and allow yourself to feel those feelings of, oh my gosh, no one needs me, but oh my gosh, I need myself, like I can be there for myself. And it's okay to crave community because as humans, we are wired for that. We are wired for human connection. I've made a lot of episodes about that because I feel so passionately about that. But you're not wrong for wanting connection. You're not wrong for wanting connection. You're just human, and that's okay. And that's the way I like it. Number 4 on my list is being a beginner just means that you have the most to learn. This applied many times this year, actually, because I've never had more jobs in 1 year than I did this year, which is insane to me. But in the context of being a manager, I didn't get trained on that. I literally stepped into the job, a new location, new people, new faces, new system to learn, and had to figure it out myself. I was so stressed. When I tell you I was so stressed, but I just had the most to learn. And I had a lot of imposter syndrome this year, but that's one thing that I want to leave in 2024. I don't want to feel like an imposter because I know I deserve to be in the spaces that I am or else I wouldn't be there. I worked so hard to get there, and so it's really disrespectful to myself to say that I'm an imposter and to say that I don't belong to be there or I don't belong in that space. Instead, reframe it and just say that instead of thinking that you're dumb and you're behind and that you are not smart as other people and that you're not worthy of the title that you hold, you just have the most to learn. Those people have probably been trained on that position. They've been in that field. They prepared for this job. They prepared for this task. You are actively in the process of stepping into that. And that's not a bad thing. They were once a beginner just like you. They just look a little bit more polished and cleaned up because they've had time to move through things and to try it and fail and to fall and mess up and break something and look like an idiot and say the wrong thing and give people the wrong things. They've had more time to perfect their craft. You are in the process of creating your toolkit. And even with teaching, such a big thing this year. Like I genuinely had such an identity crisis. Like I built my whole life around being a nurse. I knew exactly how my life would pan out in the next 10, 15, 20 even years around the belief and the thought that I was going to follow this career path. But I completely rewired that, and I'm so thankful that I did. I think that I was always meant to be a teacher, but it came with a lot of reworking my idea of what I wanted my life to look like and who I am, which I didn't expect at all. But understanding that it's okay to be a beginner, you genuinely do not have to know everything. You're there to learn and pull from people that are around you. If you think that someone knows something better than you, ask them to teach you. Be the most curious person you can. There is so much to learn from everybody you encounter, and I started to see a big change in my outlook once I started to implement that. Instead of being oh my god, I don't know anything, just be oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Oh my gosh, how do you do this? Where did you learn that? Who can teach me this? Find mentors in everywhere you go and just ask a million questions. Whenever I start a new job, I am always that person that has a notebook in hand, ready to go, writing down as many notes as I can. Because there's so much to learn and I want to learn it all. And that's okay if I don't know it all right now. I will eventually. This one could not be more important to learn. especially with the context that I turned 20 this year. I entered a new decade. I am just a little baby adult right now. I truly think that like your 20s is like you're reborn. You are not 20, you are 1. You are year 1 of being a 20-year-old. Or year 0 this year, actually. I'm like in the womb of being a 20-year-old. Like you are just a baby adult learning your new self. So this lesson, I realized I didn't even say it yet. This lesson is that nothing's wrong. You're just growing into someone you've never been before. You are going to change so much. And I used to have such strict timelines for myself. Things that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to go out of state for college. I wanted to do nursing. I wanted to be married very early in my life, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, but that's okay. And with reshaping my plan for myself comes with understanding that there's going to be a lot of growths and rebirths and deaths and awakenings and tower moments and times when you feel like everything is all falling apart. But with retrospect, I can confidently say that every time I thought something was falling apart, it was just falling into place. And that's just what needed to happen to teach me what I needed to learn at that moment. You don't need to have it all figured out. I always thought that I did, but it's crazy to think like how much I've surrendered to the process, because I've always been a person that like grips everything so tightly. I need to have 10 million planners. I need to know everything that's going on all at once. Excuse me. But I have just let control go. I can't control everything, and I stress myself out trying to control everything. It's not mine to figure out always. The universe is going to surprise you in ways that you couldn't even have imagined. Your job is to just make space for that and try to be as present as you can for the things happening in your life. You're not crazy. You're not behind. You're not deeply flawed in ways that you don't even understand. You're just growing into someone different. And it's not bad. It's just different. And there's a difference between that. Like, we correlate such a negative connotation with the idea of things being different. But I'm completely different than I was a year ago. I'm completely different than I was at the beginning of this year. I'm completely different than I was 6 months ago, pre-edible crash out. But I love who I am. And it had to be different before it could be better. Like, it had to change. And I want to read something. Something that I would always hear growing up, especially in the context of being a nursing girly, that was my interest, was that it takes a special kind of person to do that. And I always built my life around that idea that I was special in that way. But I was talking to someone at my preschool job over the summer, and she was telling me how her daughter was going into nursing, and she repeated that same thing back to me. She was like, yeah, no, it takes a special kind of person to do that. And with changing my major and all of the identity crises that came with that, I had to rewire my brain to view me as still being special. It's just a different way. And I said, I may not be the kind of special I always thought I would be, but I'm special enough. And my specialness doesn't come from external accomplishments or my career or my relationship status. It comes from the way I make people feel and the impact I leave on others. I'm special in the way that I make everyone feel seen and loved and heard and valued and supported, especially kids, because I know that if they grow up feeling like they can change the world, they just might be able to. Now, I say that in the context of like careers, changing from nursing to education, but I think that can be applied to just remapping the way that your life, the way that you thought your life looked to the way it looks now. I said that so wrong, I'm sorry. That comes from remapping the way that you thought your life would go to the way it looks now. And I think that this is so silly for me to even say, because I just picture like my 30-year-old self listening to this and just being like, oh, bro, don't you worry about that. Just you wait and see how life changes. But it's like, there's so much possibility. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. And that's just a really beautiful gift. Like, it's never final. You're always growing and evolving. And we're always changing. Next one on my list, from The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I'm currently reading. I don't know why I paused. We accept the love we think we deserve. Fucking hell. We accept the love we think we deserve. And then it's like this whole dialogue thing, and he's like, Charlie's like, we accept the love we think we deserve. And then his teacher's like, or no. his teacher, oh my gosh, Charlie asks his teacher, and he's like, why do people go after people who don't like them? Or something like that. Or like people who are bad for them. And then his teacher's like, we accept the love we think we deserve. And Charlie's like, well, can we make them know that they deserve better? And his teacher's like, we can try. And this realization came after going after so many emotionally unavailable people, boys, not men, that I had to look around and be like, am I the problem? Like, what am I doing wrong that is leading me down this road of attracting these people? Because I can't point the finger at them. Like, I'm willingly letting them into my life and thinking that I deserve the sliver of attention that they're giving me. Meanwhile, I'm someone that always preaches that you deserve the most loving person in the world, someone that sees you, but I was not practicing that in any capacity. But I took a step back, and I have proudly not had a crush or romantic feelings for anyone in like 6 or 7 months, which is probably not that big of a deal to anyone. But for me, I'm someone that has always had to have a crush. Like, I just love and fantasizing and romanticizing, and I just have always had a crush. Genuinely, since I was like 12 years old, I have always had a crush. There was not a point in my life where there wasn't someone taking up space, living rent-free in this noggin. But with stepping away from that, like, I've just been so focused on myself. Like, and it's a gift, but I know that I had to go through those people before I could figure that out. And I realized that I was accepting a really low tier of affection, I don't even want to call it love, than what I know I deserve. And it took me like genuinely being hurt by those experiences to step back and be like, why are you so okay with this? Why are you so willing to throw away your standards, even though you preach that you have high standards, just for anyone? And for me personally, this is a very nuanced topic because I've grown up without any male attention. So anytime I would get a guy that was nice to me in a normal way, I would be like, oh my God, he's in love with me. We're going to get married. But I mean, I think it's hopeful, and I think that I don't think it's bad that I did that. I think it was very optimistic of me, but I think I'm more of a realistic with slivers of, or sprinkles of optimism. Like, I always think about like Charlotte from Sex and the City, hopeful, romantic, right? I don't want to say that I'm a hopeless romantic. I still very much believe in love, but I'm more real with myself and real with what I deserve. Like, I'm not going to over romanticize a situation just because you open the door for me. No, like, I have higher stakes and standards, and I'm willing to be alone and stand alone to wait for that. And I'm willing to, I don't know what else I was going to say. But we truly do accept the love that we think we deserve. And I thought I deserved that type of love before. I thought I had to fight for my love. I thought I had to prove myself and constantly make myself someone that they would like. And I just don't buy into that anymore. And I think that I'm worth more, and I'm willing to be alone until that comes around. Period. Next one on my list, the next lesson. Walking away from something that no longer serves you can also feel like a loss, but that doesn't mean you have to go back. It's really weird that having the awareness that something is not right for you and leaving that thing that you know and you chose to walk away from, like no one made you do it, leaving that thing can still feel like there's a piece of you missing. And this, for me, happened in the context of friendship, but that could mean anything. Like, walking away from anything that doesn't serve you can have this weird thing on your mind where you think that you need that thing because you've gotten so used to it being in your life, so used to being around it. It can go for patterns as well. You've gotten so used to being in that pattern of things. But if you know in your heart that there's better out there and that this is not good for your mind, your spirit, your soul, it is not progressing you or helping you grow or nurturing you in the ways that you deserve, you should leave. Even if that means that you're the only one leaving, even if that means walking out by yourself, you are strong enough to do so, and you're going to learn so much from walking away. But also embrace and allow yourself to feel the feelings that come up when you do miss that thing. It's so weird to see like people that you once were so close to, like accomplishing things that they would talk about when you were with them, and just like having to be like a side character, or not even a side character, to be an outsider and admire from afar. You can still send them love and well wishes and root for them, but you don't have to do that while being in their life if that's not what serves you. It's okay to walk away. You'll be better off for it, and you'll learn so much. Trust me. Trust me. Next one. That kind of pairs with this. It will always be better to be alone than to be around people that don't like you. I've experienced this in friendships and with the pursuit of romantic love. I convinced myself that these guys were just shy, or that maybe they just needed to be nudged and persuaded and needed me to be the one to take initiative for them to like me or want to go out with me. But the harsh reality of it is they just didn't like me. They just didn't like me, and that's not anything personal. That's not me being a bad person and not willing or being worthy of love. They just didn't like me, and that's okay. You should not have to force something to fit or to work. If it's meant to be in your life, it'll fit seamlessly and it'll fit like a puzzle piece. But if you're taking this big old Lego that doesn't have the same fixtures as this one to fit into it, it's not going to work. No matter how you twist it, no matter how much you try to jam it in there, no matter how many ways you try to contort it, it's not going to fit because it's not meant to. If someone doesn't like you, that's okay. There are people that I don't like that aren't in my life for a reason. There are people that I thought I would end up with that I'm not, and that's okay. I would much rather be alone and by myself and focus on my energy and only have me to worry about than be around people that are supposed to care about me that just don't. Because that cuts so deep, and it genuinely makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. And I think everybody deserves love, and everybody should have people that champion them and that love them without any conditions. No strings attached. I love you for who you are, not for what you do for me, not because you get me this in life or you give me social status or yada yada yada. No. I love you for who you are, nothing else. One of the biggest things that I was working on in therapy this year was radical acceptance. That's like the theme that we came up with at the beginning of my sessions. And I started seeing her when I was experiencing the most anxiety I've ever felt in my entire life. And sorry, I don't know why I took such a deep breath. And something that she helped me to learn, and I'm so thankful for it, is that all of your emotions are valid and they're genuinely just trying their best to help you. Thankfully, the movie Inside Out came out, Inside Out 2, during this time, and it perfectly illustrated that idea that even emotions like anxiety is just doing her best to what she knows to be her best to help you, to prepare you for anything that could be potentially harmful for you, to prepare you for situations, to make your body ready to go into fight or flight. And I've sat in such a perpetual state of fight or flight for so long that I don't want to feel that anymore, but I also know that that comes from acknowledging all of my emotions, feeling them. And there are so many emotions that can exist that are seemingly contradictory that can exist at the same time. You can be, like I mentioned earlier, you can be deeply proud of your friends and happy for them to experience love while also being jealous that you don't get to experience that and feeling that disconnect of, I have nothing to relate to you when you talk about that. Like, those can exist at the same time. They don't cancel each other out. One's not stronger than the other. They are both in your brain, in the headquarters, trying to control the panel, and that's okay. They can be friends. They are all valid, and they all serve a very important purpose in your life. This one is important, and we're not going to elaborate, but a big lesson that I learned this year: stay away from caramel edibles. Okay, moving on. Going hand in hand with me changing my career and having an identity crisis, many crash outs were had this year, is the lesson that you are allowed to change your mind on something that you've always felt sure of. You are not tied down or required to be the same person you've always said you would be or you've always thought you would be. There's a quote from Brianna Weiss's book, and she basically talks about how you owe nothing to your younger self and you owe everything to the person you are now. My dreams from when I was younger to who I am now look completely different. And it is my job to honor and love myself through every single phase of life that I go through. I'm going to have so many deaths and rebirths and moments where I think I know something and then I find something completely new that I know. And I think just surrendering to that process and knowing that all you have to do is honor who you are and where you are now. It's okay if your dreams change. It's okay if your wants change. It's okay if your needs change. You're always changing. That is the one constant thing in life, is that you are always changing. So instead of resisting it, instead of trying to run from change because it will always catch up to you, instead give yourself love through your different seasons and embrace change that is going through you. The next lesson, and it's very tied to this one, another thing that I learned in 2024 is that everything will change, but it's not always bad. I want to read to you something from the book Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and it just feels like a warm hug every time I read it. So this is talking about friendships. She says, everything will change. The love we have for each other stays the same, but the format, the tone, the regularity, and the intimacy of our friendship will change forever. People always say that nothing will change. That's the quote. Nothing will change. Things will stay the same. Oh, how could I possibly forget about you or not talk to you as much or just have our dynamic change? You make a promise to yourself that your friendship will always remain the same. And while the love and the connection and the feelings of just deep bond and soul connection stays the same, but the way that it looks completely alters as you get older. And that's something I've had to go through the thick of, and I know that that'll change when my friends get married or when they start having kids or when people move out of state. Everything changes. I am the only one in my friend group that doesn't have a boyfriend. I am always a single person, and I love seeing love and seeing my friends be loved in the way that they deserve. But it's also something I've had to adjust to because, like I said, they have their person. They have that one person that they go to, that they tell everything to, that person that they call first for good news, that person that gets to see them through their hard moments and help them work through that. And that used to be me. That used to be the spot that I filled. But now I get to fill a different spot, which is not bad. It's just different. And it's emotional moving through it because no one prepares you for when your friendships could look completely different. But it's part of life, and I get to enjoy those relationships in a different way now. And the regularity of your friendships change completely. Almost all of my friends work full-time jobs. We don't have as much time to see each other, and when we see each other, it's a lot less of me knowing all the intricate details of their life and a lot more of just catch-ups, which makes me so sad because I am such a nostalgic person and such a person that loves knowing every little thing about your life. Like, me and my best friend Jade, we used to drive together to EVIT. Senior year, we were with each other all the time. Our car rides are some of my favorite memories because we would just talk about everything going on in our life. And now she works a big girl job, I work 2 jobs, I'm in school. We're busy. That doesn't mean we don't make time for each other, but we're just busy. So the amount of times we see each other is a lot more sparse and a lot less frequent. And every time that we see each other, we have a lot more to catch up on. And I don't know everything that happens in our day-to-day, but we make a conscious effort to pour into that relationship. And I didn't have this written down, but another lesson that goes hand in hand with this one is that yes, your relationships, your friendships, your romantic partnerships take work, but that work does not mean that they're not worth pouring into. The work does not equate to it being bad. I do have to work at my relationships. I do have to make a conscious effort to message them, to make sure that they know that I still care about them, that I'm thinking of them, to ask questions, to stay curious. But that work is not bad, and I do that work because I want to, because I care about them. And it comes from a sense of intentionality. Yes, you do have to make an effort, but that effort is worth it if that's someone you care about. But everything changes. And like I said about accepting all of your emotions, allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to look at the ways things used to be and to reminisce that you'll always have those memories and to get excited that you're going to make new ones. And it will look different, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. Next lesson. You are so much bigger than the things, people, places that have hurt you. I think about the Taylor Swift song, and I'm just going to leave it at this, Mean. Someday I'll be living in a big old city, and all you're going to be is mean. I am going to move on with my life. The world will keep spinning. I'm going to learn new things about myself, new people, new experiences, new places. There's so much out there in the world for me to experience, places that I'll feel accepted and loved. That has nothing to do with anybody or anything that has hurt me. And I am who I am because of those things, not in spite of them, because of them. And all they're going to be is mean. You are going to stay where you are, and I'm going to keep growing. And I don't have to say anything about it. I just get to keep growing. And I do not have to be pulled back into whatever it is that you're doing just because you haven't moved on. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but the idea of boundaries. I said that boundaries are how you practice self-love and teach people how to treat you. And with boundaries, I've had to learn the hard way that the only people that are going to be hurt by your boundaries are those who have gotten so used to abusing them, to pushing them, to not listening to them at all, pretending as if they don't even exist. Someone that really loves you will want to treat you in a way that is healthy and productive for you. They would not want to make you uncomfortable or do anything that's outside of yourself. Boundaries are how you practice self-love. It is how you show to yourself that I see you, I love you, and I respect you. A big idea that I was introduced this year is the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And just anytime someone does something that you want to try to control, just tell yourself, let them. And believe them when they show you who they are. If someone doesn't want to reach out to you and you're the only one that does, and that means that when you stop reaching out, you don't really have a relationship, let them. That's their job, not yours. All you can do is operate from a genuine place and love with no strings, love with no need for love to be poured back into you. Love because it feels natural. Love because it's what you want to do and it comes from a pure intention. And if nobody wants to reciprocate that, let them. Because at the end of the day, that love is always yours. That love is mine, oh mine. Like that came from you and it will remain, whether they're in your life or not. So if someone does something that you want to try to control, just tell yourself, let them. That's their decision. All you can do is let you. You can choose what you do and you can choose your proximity to that person. If something happens and you don't agree with it, you get to choose how close you stay to that person. You can't control anything else but yourself. Moving right along. The words you speak become the house you live in. There was this quote that I saw on Instagram, but I've also heard this a lot. Basically, that every time that you speak, you're casting spells. The words you speak become the truth, the narrative of your life. And a beautiful example I have of this is with my little kiddos that I teach at the preschool. Anytime that they'll spill something, instead of like freaking out or thinking that they're a terrible kid for doing that or blowing up on them and making it a whole big thing, I just say, it's okay, let's just clean it up together. It's okay. Like that was just an accident. Let's clean up. It's okay. It's okay. And now, repeating that to them, they've now started to say that to me. If I drop something, if I make an oopsie, or if some of their classmates do that, they tell them, it's okay. Let's just clean up. The words you say matter. They have an impact, and even if it's subconscious, eventually it'll be pushed to your consciousness, and you will say something and you'll be like, oh my gosh, where did I get that from? The words that you speak and repeat over and over again become the narrative that you tell yourself. So make sure to speak kindly to not only others, but yourself, because you're going to train your mind to believe it, and you want to believe good things. I had the opportunity of traveling, like I said, to 2 music festivals this year, and every time I was there, I would just look around in this crowd of thousands upon thousands of people and just be like, oh my gosh, there is so much more to the world than my hometown. That is a really big lesson that I learned, even just getting out of like my city, staying in my state, because right now I don't have the means to leave that far, but just getting out of my hometown. Like, there's so much life, love, people, things to see, things to do, that is not this little bubble that I've always existed in. And I can forget that sometimes and get really stuck here, but I am not tied down here. I don't have to stay here. I can move, I can spread my wings, and that's another thing that I learned about being single. I can do whatever I want because I'm the only one that makes the decisions around here. I'm calling the shots, buddy. Just me. Next lesson. Never stop getting to know people. I saw another quote on Instagram that was talking about how growing up and moving into adult relationships in the context of your siblings requires you to always be getting to know new versions of themselves. And this is something that I love because it's something that's really fun, and it can be scary at first realizing like, oh my gosh, like I don't know them like I used to. Their life looks different than it once did, and there's new characters that I don't really know that well. There's new things that they enjoy, but get curious. Instead of shutting down and being sad and excluding yourself from their life before they even exclude you, get curious, because relationships is all about the effort that you put in and continuing to get to know someone. I've always heard that too, of like in romantic relationships, love is all about just getting to know yourself more and more and finding new ways to fall in love with them. And I think of that in friendships. I always love learning new things about my friends and finding ways to know them more, know them in a deeper way, know them in a new way, and find things to love about them. Because they're always there. I just have to ask the right questions to get it out of them. And get to know yourself too. Never stop getting to know yourself, because you are also, like the people that you love, changing and evolving and becoming someone new. So ask yourself questions to check up on yourself too. Ooh, that kind of rhymed! Period. Okay, this is a big one because I've felt like a mess this whole year. It's okay if it's messy. There's this one Olivia Dean song called Messy, one of my favorite songs of the entire year. It's okay if it's messy. There's no need to know all the answers right now, especially if you're someone in your early 20s like I am. You don't have to have it all figured out right now, because chances are you're going to figure it out right now, and then in a little while, you're going to learn something new that you want to do. You're going to rewire your whole plan that you had. So just be present for where you are right now, and honestly, embrace the mess, embrace the chaos, because there's beauty in that, and you do not have to be so clean and put together and always know exactly what to say. And I want to reference something that I wrote down in my journal while I was going through the thick of embracing this new reality, I guess, and just embracing the confusion. Of course, I'm confused and feel like an imposter and crave to move out, but fear being alone. And of course, I don't have all the answers yet. I'm skeptical if I ever will, but I'm showing up and trying my best to be better and aware and proactive. Even though I fall short and stumble over my words and cry often and think I'm making a mess, I'm learning this is actually my divine magic. My wounding is my wisdom, and I have to go through all of these deaths and rebirths to fully know me. Period. My wounding is my wisdom, and I can be messy, but that's a beautiful thing. And there's this idea that like someday someone will come in and love this version of me and love all of my little quirks and things that are messy. But I also realized and am actively practicing that I am with me. I get to love all these things about myself. I get to admire my little quirks and embrace them, because without them, I wouldn't be who I am now. I was going to speed round through these, but you guys are here to listen to me talk. This is a podcast, so yes, this is going to be long, and if you're here for it, I love you. If not, that's okay. That's okay. The next lesson, detachment is true freedom. And this comes from being in the thick of loneliness and embracing all the lessons and all of the really hard times and all of the dark moments. Detaching from the outcome. Like, I had a realization the other day when I was in a room full of people that I truly care about and I want them to be in my life for so long. But having that experience where I walked away from a friend group, I know what that feels like, and I know now that I can stand alone. So while I care about all these people so much and I'm doing everything I can to nurture our connections, I had this realization where I was like, no matter what happens, I will be okay. And I never thought that I would say that, because I've always been a person that I've needed to be around other people to feel good, to make me feel better about myself. But I've detached entirely from the outcome. I can't control what happens. I can't control how our relationships will pan out. That's not in my hands. That's not for me to decide. But I can love genuinely and try my best to make things work. But detaching from the outcome, and this can be applied to romantic relationships too, it sets you free. You do not have to have it all figured out. You do not have to be 10 steps ahead of yourself. You do not have to do things that don't feel genuine or true to you. Detach from the outcome. Detach, detach, detach. You are like a bird. Fly free. Detach, detach. Oh, and it feels so liberating knowing that, because then it's just like, I am free. Like, I am not in this tight little box that I feel so trapped and closed into. I'm free. Ooh, this is one of my favorite lessons that I've learned this year. Love is not always loud, but it is always felt. And I want to reference a quote again from Everything I Know About Love, which I just ordered another copy of it to read because it is one of my favorite books ever. So deeply profound, and I've decided I'm going to write a memoir just like it when I grow up, because all of the things that she says resonate so deeply. Dolly Alderton wrote, "Love is a quiet, reassuring, relaxing, pottering, pedantic, I don't know if I said that right, harmonious hum of a thing. Something you can easily forget is there, even though its palms are outstretched beneath you in case you fall." Love doesn't have to be this loud, exaggerated, performative thing. Love is in the little things. Love is in the little things. Someone saying, "This reminded me of you." Someone asking, "How was your day?" and really listening. Someone sending you a TikTok that made them think of you. Them sending you a song that made them think of you. Them telling you to drive safe. Text me when you get home. Love is in the little things. And with the friends that I have now moving into adult relationships, love is a lot of the times in the little things, because we don't have big moments. We have little ones, and those little ones add up, and they're enough, and they're beautiful in their own way. And the little things is how they show you that they love you and how they keep that love alive. This is a really big perspective shift that I had this year. It is the idea that you don't have to do anything. You get to do everything. A lot of times things can feel like a chore, and you can easily fall into the mindset of being like, "Oh my gosh, like this is such a dreadful thing. I have to do this. I have to go to work." No, you get to go to work. It's a privilege to do anything. There are people that don't have half of the blessing that you do. So instead of taking that for granted, admire and reframe your mind. Admire what a blessing it is to do the things that you do and have the things that you have, and reframe your brain to view them as a gift. You don't have to work out. You get to move your body. You have an able body. You're lucky to have that. You don't have to make yourself dinner. You get to cook a nourishing meal for your body. You don't have to do anything. You get to do everything. And that is such a beautiful thing that we so easily overlook and take for granted. This one is a funny one that I more recently learned, but platonic relationships with men are so important. And this is from someone that used to always have a crush on my guy best friend. Anytime I got a little too close to a boy, I was like, "Oh, so you're going to be my husband. Oh, so we're supposed to be married." Put a rock on my finger. But I think that our society does such a disservice to everybody when they sell the narrative that men and women can't be friends. You can be platonically close with a boy if you are a girl, vice versa. We learn so much from one another, and I think that when we only view them in the context of romance, we just make it solely transactional, or actually, yeah, solely transactional, usually physically transactional. But we are so much more than that. We are so much deeper, so much more complex. And I love the guy friends in my life right now, and I'm so thankful for them, and I learn from them, and they learn from me, and that's what friendship is all about. And I think that diversifying your friend group is such a beautiful thing, and we all need it. And we need to talk to each other more. Talk to each other more. I just had these cute girls wave at me. That was adorable. This one, and I think it's really funny that I left these two for last, but that's just for the real ones that stay. These two are probably the most profound, actually. The loneliness one was really deep, too. I mean that one. But it is better to feel pain than nothing at all. I have felt the most emotions in my life this year, and a lot of new ones that are really complex, just like with Inside Out 2 when Riley experiences anxiety for the first time. It is so confusing to navigate, and no one gives you a toolkit on this is what you do when you feel this. but you have to go through it to understand it, and that means not running from it. If it feels uncomfortable and scary and really heavy, lean into it. And something that I did a lot this year was, if I feel overwhelmed, go outside and touch grass. If you need to genuinely sit in a field of grass and immerse yourself in that and connect with the universe because your mind feels too heavy and too clouded and the world is too much right now, do it. Breathe. I found yoga this year, and that was probably one of the best things for me. And I would rather feel all of those emotions than be numb to it all. It is a gift to feel, and the only way to heal is by feeling. Me rhyming. But it truly is a gift to feel everything. And if you think about like you being, and I heard this from Lily Reinhart on Jay Shetty's podcast, but she was saying how you start out as this beaming ball of light in the universe, just floating around in space. And you decide to come down here as a human to experience all of the emotions under the sun. To be a human is to sign up to feel the range of emotions, and you cheat yourself out of the full human experience when you only say that you want to feel the good emotions or the happy ones. And emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are just there to teach you something. We place those external labels on them, and that label shapes the way that you experience that emotion. Instead of viewing loneliness as this dark thing that you're never going to let go of and that is going to forever hold you down and you're never going to experience happiness or connection, view it as a beautiful invitation to get to know yourself better. And that can be said for any emotion. Instead of viewing it as this tight box that you're confined to, view it as a playground that you get to run around in, get to know, and experience. And last but not least, the number one thing, well, an important thing that I learned this year. I'm so glad everything happened how it did, or I may never have met me. And that is a Noah Kahn quote from Growing Sideways. Because I've convinced myself for so long that everybody's lives are so much better than mine, that I'm off track, that I'm doing everything wrong, that I should be here, should be doing that. Everything happens exactly as it's meant to. If you were meant to be somewhere else, you would be there. If you were meant to be having a different experience, you would be there. There is no way that you could possibly ever be late or off track for your own life. You are always on time. And even with this, I'm so thankful that I was so lonely this year because it forced me to learn how to fall in love with my alone time and to reshape the way that I view loneliness to viewing it as solitude, which has a more positive and productive connotation. And from my favorite page in the book, Everything I Know About Love, this is her big breakthrough moment, and I had one of my own at the Clairo concert, funny enough. That was another solo concert I went to, and I just remember thinking about how I always wanted to meet the love of my life at a concert, and thinking that every time I went out to one, it was going to be the time. And I would get that disappointment when it didn't happen every single time. But this was the first concert, funny enough, she was singing Sexy to Someone, where I realized that I am who I've been waiting for. I am the love that I've been looking for. Like, I am my own love of my life, and that is such a beautiful thing. Like, no matter what happens, I will always come home to myself. Even when I get in a relationship one day, like, I always belong to myself first. And that was my big breakthrough. But Dolly Alderton writes, I am my own universe, a galaxy, a solar system. I am the warm-up act, the main event, and the backing singers. And if this is it, if this is all there is, just me and the trees and the sky and the seas, I know now that that's enough. And I could not think of something that sums up my year more. I know now that who I am is enough. And I never really understood the power of that until now, because I just have so much more respect for myself, and I am able to say no to things, and I'm able to truly be okay with being alone. And I realized that I often prefer that than being around people, just because I know who I am and I don't ever want to disobey myself again or extend myself for people that don't deserve it and put myself in situations that I shouldn't be. Like, I am my own, and if this is all that there is, I know that I'm destined for love, but in the rare case that this is all that there is, just me and this life, that is enough. That is plenty for me. And I am enough for myself, and that's all that matters. And I really, really, really hope that you can come to that realization if you are on like the self-love journey, because it's a beautiful thing, and you deserve to be admired for all that you are. And I hope that this year was kind to you. Even if you learned a lot and you changed a lot and you had a lot of tower moments and a lot of deaths and rebirths, it was all for a purpose, and I hope that you can realize that and find ways to be proud of yourself. I am not one to subscribe to the finish strong mentality of the end of the year. I used to be, but I think that we are all cyclical beings and we should be slowing down like nature is. So allow yourself to reflect and be proud of all the ways that you've grown and changed, and just know that if you need someone to champion you and to be proud of you, I always will be, and I love you. I'm very grateful that you're here, and to many more lessons to come in the new year and forever. I'm very grateful to have this, and I'm so lucky to have had you guys on this journey with me this year. You've seen me through a lot of moments, and I'm very proud of all the episodes I put out. So I love you. Thank you so much for it. Kiss time. Mwah! I love you so much, and go do something that makes your inner child happy. Go dance around, do a little twirl, do something, but just make sure that you're proud of yourself, because you deserve it. And I love you so much. I'll see you very soon. Next time we're going to be prepping for the new year, so I hope you have a magical ending to your year, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.